As well as watching this vodcast, you can watch Good Game on ABC2 every Monday night at 9 o'clock and ABC1 late on Friday nights after Triple J TV. Hello and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers, by gamers. I'm Junglist.
And I'm Barjo. This week we go online with Frontline's Fuel of War. It's all about moving battle lines and small robot drones.
Wii Fit makes an appearance, and we all know about movie games, but what about TV show games? The original producers have written the game version of Lost.
We'll also see if gaming can really compete with exercise. Plus, the game on exhibition in Melbourne, over 40 years of gaming history showcased. But Jung, I have to ask you, what's with the dumbbell?
It's my new rule. Every time I die in a game, I've got to do 10 push-ups. If I get tired of that, I got to do 10 of these. That way, I get fit and better at the games at the same time.
Well, it's a shame, you can't incorporate that with some sort of personal hygiene thing.
What are you talking about?
Well, they have these thing called showers now where you... Never mind. Can you guess the game for this week? In keeping with the TV show theme, it was one of the earliest of its kind, released in 1988.
At least I'm not fat.
Yeah, as in P-H-A-T.
Go read the news.
Yeah, okay.
Good game.
A sequel to the undersea science fiction epic BioShock has been announced by the game's publisher, 2K Games. Ken Levine, BioShock's creative director, will be working on the sequel, but 2K Australia, who was responsible for the original game's port to PC, will not be involved. However, they will be working on developing a new game yet to be announced. BioShock 2 is planned for release around Christmas 2009. Gamers in the United Kingdom will be attempting to set a Guinness World Record with a 24-hour Rainbow Six multiplayer gaming session. 1,500 gamers will gather next weekend to make the attempt, which, if successful, will be included in Guinness World Records Gamers Edition in 2009.
Good game.
John, what are you doing?
Get this, man. I'm attempting the world record for AFKing in an auction house.
Right. Cool. Well, good luck with that.
Hey, Badge, have you ever wondered what would happen and who would get angry if the world's oil supply ran out?
I was just wondering that right now.
Good, because Frontline's Fuel of War for PC, PS3, and 360 just crossed the line into Australia. We reviewed the PC version.
Set in the near future, Earth is locked in conflict over the world's dwindling oil supplies. The Americans and the Europeans have teamed up to go up against Russia and China in the fight for the liquid gold, and it's up to you and your squad to defend the oil fields you have and amalgamate the rest. And I think they've done an imaginative job of coming up with ideas for what might happen when the oil actually runs out.
The solo campaign feels more like a training ground where you can familiarize yourself with the guns and the vehicles. There's really not much new there. There's no uber-fast Jeep to hurl you into battle, because Frontlines is all about the front line.
The addition of drones adds new dynamic to the gameplay. There's air recon drones, fast-track tank destroyers, super missile-shooting Uber minicopters, and our personal favourite, the remote-controlled robot tank. But there was no invert mouse option for the drones, which I found very frustrating, being an inverted kind of guy. You can use the recon drones to spy and tag your enemies, and it's a very futuristic army kind of thing. I had a lot of fun trying to hide my little spy cam, especially as a sniper.
But the AI in single player isn't very strong. Enemies will only shoot at your drone if you're controlling it at the time. And if you switch back to your soldier, they'll somehow just lose interest. If you need to regen some health, you can actually drop a drone right in front of you, and the enemies won't shoot your soldier, even if you're standing right next to him.
And what's with all the flying hats?
Yes, that was very interesting hat physics, Badge.
Derelict war zones are your battlefields, and in fact most of the environment is destructible or has some kind of level of damage, which took me by surprise when I thought I had cover only to have it blown away.
Jumping online is easy and requires no cumbersome login procedure, but at the time of recording we couldn't actually find any Australian servers, which means we couldn't get a stable ping below 250. Once you do get in the game, you can choose your class and your role. Ground support can repair and build sentry guns. Air support has artillery options. Countermeasures have EMP abilities, and drone tech lets you play with tiny robots.
By spending more time fighting and taking checkpoints, you're rewarded with extra weapons and abilities for your role. And this is really good, John, because it rewards you for active participation in the battle as opposed to just spending time there. This resets after each round.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Badge, but to me some of the explosions were such a letdown, and the fire effects looked like they were almost 2D.
I agree, John, but it's scaled down for a reason. Frontlines boast 64-player maps, so it's to keep everything running smooth. But when the artillery's going off and helicopters are flying past and missiles are shooting past your head and there's gunfire everywhere, it really feels like you're in a war zone. And if you thought the artillery fire from Battlefield 2142 was tough to run through, Frontlines redefines death from above.
Yeah, Badge, well, you know, I think Battlefield fans who are after a change might find this fight for oil a slick substitute. I should point out there is the occasional graphical issue, and the game won't actually load until you install the latest patch. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, if we had some faster connections, I could definitely see myself getting into this a bit more. Whether it's got the fan base to have a good competitive scene remains to be seen, but there's definitely strategic gameplay potential here. I'm giving it 8 out of 10.
Good game.
It's a fact. We're getting fatter, and games are often blamed for the bulge. But is gaming a passive activity? How does the heart respond to microing on 3 fronts or a team down clutch? Surely gaming does something for the heart. Help!
Dr. Spike, thanks for being on Good Game. Can you tell us about your latest study?
Yes, we ran an experiment where we were interested in the heart rate changes of players when they were playing a first-person shooter. Did they get physiologically aroused, is what we'd call it.
Why did you measure the heart rate of the participants?
In the virtual reality area, there's an idea called immersion, which is your engagement, how much you feel that you're in the game rather than outside as a passive observer. Now, how do you measure immersion? You can ask the people, which is a bit of a second-hand way, or you can actually measure their physiological responses to get a feel for immersion. And heart rate is the best measure of that, but also things like your skin response, whether you're sweating, are other ways to do it too.
What were the results of your experiment?
Perhaps something happened in game, they were surprised or killed, their heart rate would spike momentarily and then drop back down. So on average, there wasn't a big change.
To measure your heart rates and look at your exercise rates. These watches are going to react with the heart monitors that we have, and we'll be able to get a readout of your pulse from those.
All right.
Right?
Cool. You got the wide angle lens on, you might.
We're going to measure your heart rates first off before you start exercising. That'll give us a basic rate to work with.
96?
97.
I'm 92, man. 92.
I would like you to start pedaling now.
Oh, this is hard already.
I'm up to 112 already, man. Shut up, Cody.
Okay, and stop.
156.
Oh, 138. That was hard work.
That was easy.
Right, now we're going to try something that's a little more along your line.
Excellent.
So we will let you start 2 rock. We will see how that gets your heart rate going. We'll measure you again at the peak of it, 1.5 minutes in, and then we'll see how long it takes your heart rate to come back down afterwards. Your heart rate overall decreased. It was up and down. It didn't get above 95, whereas when you're doing the exercise, it was 133. But I actually have a suspicion that you're more relaxed and calmer playing this because it's what you do so much of the time.
We reviewed this one, so yes, I've played it quite a lot.
Right. Okay, junglers, we're going to take a measurement before, we're going to take a measurement after about 1.5 minutes, and then at the end, and we'll see how long it's going to take for your heart rate to come back to what it was at the very beginning.
All right.
We're ready to start now. I'm going to need you to stop now, please. So at the halfway mark, your heart rate was lower than it was when you were doing the exercise, but by the end, it had elevated and your cardiovascular rate was quite high for the amount of exercise you were doing.
It did get up to around what it was on the bike eventually.
And that was with the boxing game. You probably wouldn't get something with 10-pin bowling.
So would you say that playing games on a PC or a console is a passive activity?
Mentally, it's not. Okay, we know, and it depends on the genre of game that you're playing, but a real-time strategy, a new game, we're using our brain a lot, and it consumes a lot of energy. But the standard play with a keyboard, a mouse, and a gamepad, yes, that's quite passive. It's not consuming a lot of energy.
Amazing, man. I mean, most people would get pumped from playing Turok, but your heart rate actually went down.
Well, you know, it's a myth that games make you more violent. For me, it's a way of getting out that aggression.
So what, stabbing dinosaurs in the face soothes you?
Well, you can't argue with science, can you, Jung? But hey, what are you still doing here? You're meant to be in Melbourne.
What do you mean?
For the Game On exhibition. You gotta go. But Jung, there's other people down there, so I think you should take this. But first, a cartridge affair.
Good evening, viewers. Gavin Hostman reporting. Aperture Science, creator of new portal technology, have been served a class action lawsuit today as a rival company, Wagglemax Technologies, claims Aperture Science have plagiarized their product created as far back as the 1950s.
So Wagglemax have submitted the following archival footage as evidence.
Now, sir. Can't you think of a more modern way to deal with such a boring task? The Wagglemax Vortex System, TM. Here at Wagglemax, we've developed a personal teleportationizer device to solve any modern-day problem, whether it be walking the family hound, to taking care of Junior while you and the lady wife see a motion picture graph. We're so proud of our new technology that we're giving ourselves a pat on the back. And what do we say to our critics who claim that Wagglemax Vortexes are unreliable whirling death traps of nauseating horror? Wagglemax Technologies, bringing a shortcut to life.
This damning video has come at a bad time for Aperture Science, as the company is also currently facing several serious cake fraud claims. Coming up next,
Have brain training games gone too far with the release of Dr. Kawashima's mind control protocol? More after the break.
Good game.
Paintings, sculptures, even cans of tomato soup all have their place in museums and galleries right across the world. But what about games? I'm here at the Game On exhibition at the Australian Centre for the Moving Image, where they're displaying over 120 games spanning 40 years.
Well, Game On is the kind of history, culture and future of video games from the 1960s to the present day. So the game starts off in the research labs in the 60s, where games were first created, goes through into the arcades in the 70s and 80s, and then off into the home, and then online at the end of the show.
How did you go about deciding what games should be in the exhibition and which should be left out?
We really wanted to kind of pick out some of the key moments in the history of games. So really the exhibition is arranged historically, but there are also themes in the show as well. So, for example, in the early arcade section, we're really looking at the kind of starting point, which is the a Pong. We look at kind of key moments kind of throughout the 80s.
Yes!
The difficulty is actually obtaining the games and keeping them running, because there aren't any big collections kind of around the world. There are no institutions to borrow these machines from, so we have to rely on collectors, and we've actually bought a lot of machines from eBay.
And why do you think that is, that an exhibition like this for games is so rare, whereas other forms of art all have their own place?
Well, I think we're just in the early history of games. I mean, people often kind of compare this era that we're in games to the silent era of film. You know, it's just beginning to be established. People are beginning to write the history. The stars are just beginning to be identified. And we try and identify some of those people in the galleries.
So this is the arcade section. What have we got here?
We've got about 20 original arcade games from the early 70s, when arcade games first came into fashion and began to overtake pinball in the arcades, which is kind of where I remember those games. You know, do you want to play?
Sure. Now, I've heard the original Space Invaders had a thing where the actual music sped up, and it was designed to mimic the human heartbeat as the aliens got closer to the...
Yeah, that's right. Even today, it feels like a really tense game to play, because you've got this beat in the background that's just gradually speeding up, yeah.
Are you finding a lot of the kids that are used to, you know, the modern consoles, do they go straight to the Pong, or...?
Well, they do. They come downstairs to the gallery and go to the Pong, but as soon as they realise that there are kind of handhelds in the exhibition, they kind of rush off to see those. So, you know, it's interesting. You know, a lot of the younger children coming in are really keen on the DS and the PSP. And I don't think they realise that games have actually got kind of a history to them now. So, you know, when you start talking to them and explain that kind of games go back to the 60s, you know, they're really quite shocked.
So what's this section?
Well, we're in the section that looks at the kind of rise of the home console here. So we're showing the top 10 consoles that we've chosen as being kind of key consoles that have changed the world of gaming. The story starts in 1972 with the Magnavox Odyssey, which is the first kind of home console, which was designed by Ralph Baer. From that, all the way up to the original PlayStation. And in each case, we're looking at kind of key games that appeared on those consoles and kind of drove the sales of the consoles. We've got past visions of the future. We're showing things like the Nintendo Power Glove and the Vectrex Imager. They're technologies that didn't really have a huge amount of success. And then looking at the story now, and looking at new innovations. So we're showing Sony iToy and also some of the latest Nintendo Wii games.
Is there a common theme with where the gaming industry is headed in this section?
Probably the exciting things for the future are happening online, and the development of machinima, which are little online movies that guild members make, which are a really interesting new kind of user-generated art form. But there's the whole kind of area of modding as well, which is like a really rich part of what online gaming is about. And I think giving the gamer kind of more control over the game architecture itself. And I think that's where the excitement is lying. In terms of the console world, well, who knows? You know, the Power Glove didn't take off, but the Wii is virtually using the same technology. So, you know, let's see what happens in the next 5 years.
Quite a lot of gaming there, John.
Yeah, and you know, it was all playable, so I was happy to see Ocarina of Time there, and Donkey Kong was good schnipping.
Wouldn't it be great if our game, the one we're making with you, a pro developer, and giving away a couple of mentorships for as well, wouldn't it be great if that game could be a part of it one day?
Well, it could happen. I mean, we're still in the idea stage right now, so if you've ever dreamt of having your idea for a game turned into a reality, have we got the comp for you? All the information is on our website, and there's some hints and tips on game design there as well.
You gotta be in it to win it.
Who said that?
I don't know, but it's kind of lame. Shouldn't you be checking on your little thing?
Oh!
Good game!
In today's age of photorealistic graphics and complex gameplay, it can be easy to take the simpler things for granted. Take this, for example. It's a health bar, and it's probably one of the most important innovations in game design history. Before the invention of these babies, games would usually only let you take one hit before it was game over. But the invention of the life bar meant you could live and play a little longer. It's difficult to say where the whole health bar phenomenon started, but we think it may have kicked off with this game. It was called Attic Attack, and it was released in 1983 by a little company called Ultimate Play the Game, better known these days as Rare. Now, Attic Attack didn't exactly have a health bar, but it did have the next best thing, a health chicken. With your life force represented by a chook-shaped health bar, you had to avoid enemy attack and maintain a balanced diet, or risk turning your health chicken into a bleached-boned carcass. Whilst this was a good start, it wasn't until 1 year later, in 1984, that health bars would really arrive. The game was Dragon Buster, a side-scrolling action game developed by Namco. As the game's sword-swinging hero, you had to fight through an army of snakes, bats, skeletons, and of course, dragons, while your health was represented by a long rectangular gauge of mystery. It was a health bar, the first real one to appear in a video game. As you took damage from your fire-breathing enemies, your blue vitality bar would shrink and turn red. Too much red, and it was game over. In the wake of Dragon Buster, health bars sprung up everywhere, in all shapes and sizes. In the mid-80s, classic games like Castlevania, Kid Icarus, and many more adopted the health bar as their survival mechanism of choice. And they became particularly popular with martial arts games like Kung Fu Master and Yayar Kung Fu. In 1986, Nintendo gave the health bar a heartfelt redesign with this. The Legend of Zelda was innovative in that it allowed you to increase the size of your health bar as the game progressed. And if you let your health get too low, it also did this. Man, that was annoying. In 1987, the health bar was featured in Capcom's first attempt at creating a one-on-one fighter, called Street Fighter, that didn't really take off on its first attempt. It wasn't until 1991 and the release of Street Fighter II that the health bar soared to new heights of popularity and influence. Spurred on by their phenomenal success, health bars once again took the games industry by storm, appearing in thousands of games ranging from the very worst to the very best. But after several decades at the top, the health bar is today finding itself falling out of favor. In the never-ending quest for more realism, games designers are opting for less intrusive ways of letting you know you've been hurt in a game. Games like Call of Duty 4 and Gears of War, for example, have done away with bars completely in favor of tinting the screen a shade of red whenever you take damage. So does this trend spell the end for the humble health bar? Not a chance. With so much gaming history tied up in this little rectangle of vitality, it's still got a lot of life in it yet. And let's not forget the health bar's influential part in the creation of other gaming staples, such as the magic bar, the experience bar, and even the loading bar. But those, of course, are stories for another time.
Good game.
Famous for spreading clues across multiple platforms, the makers of Lost have decided to have a crack at a video game entitled Lost Via Domus. And it's easy to be skeptical here, Badge, but when I learned it was made by the same developers as Assassin's Creed and written by the show's executive producers, I had a little spark of hope. Then I played the game and my spark of hope was drenched by a fire hose helping of Terabad.
You play as a character not yet seen in the show before, with convenient amnesia, and begin as the plane crashes into the island. Occasionally, your story brushes up with other characters' stories, and it's pretty accurate as far as the show is concerned.
What do you say we keep this between you and me?
You'll be privy to some things that aren't in the show, and it doesn't conflict, so whether you take it as lost gospel is up to you.
Previously on Lost.
Who was that? Where is she from?
Now, they've obviously focused on making the game feel like the show with the same sort of dialogue and plot cliffhangers, and here they've succeeded. They were also able to get 6 of the original actors for voice work.
혼자 있고 싶다고 했잖아요.
But when it comes to bringing the Lost universe to an interactive form of entertainment, it's an epic fail. Things that you actually do range from fetch this, to talk to this person, to walk here, to take a photo of that, none of which are actually any fun.
Often you'll have to walk through dark caves, and the only real complex thing is remembering to extinguish your torch before you go through water. There's also a mini-game which really looks like it requires a degree in electrical engineering to be able to complete. And look what happens when you press help.
Probably the best bit was hiding from the evil fog, but I've got to say, all the gameplay just felt like filler for the cutscenes. They've got the cutscenes down okay, and if I could have just watched those from start to finish, I probably would have walked away happier. But then again, that would have made the game shorter, and it's pretty short as it is.
It picks up a little bit halfway through, but that's a long time to wait in such a short game. The only actual excitement manifests itself in the cutscenes, so the actual interactive part of the game part of the game, is a complete waste of time. I'm giving it 4 out of 10.
Lost fans should be the angriest out of everyone here. Even so, you need to be a Lost fan to tolerate this game. As a method of delivering more Lost info, it's alright. As a game, it's 5 hours of my life I want back. I'm giving it 2 out of 10 unimpressed rubber chickens. Matter of fact, give me the game. Give it here.
Good game.
29 minutes and 30 seconds, junglers. You may just make it.
Aha. Oh, hey. It's about time you got fit.
No pun intended, I'm sure there, Jung. Well, it's coming out in May, but as we're being so energetic and physical in this episode, we thought we'd get our hands on, or should I say our feet on, this advanced copy of Wii Fit. Come on, Jung. Let's test out your body mass index. Overweight! Look at Scrumpy Jungie.
All right, hop on, my fleshy friend.
All right, let's do it.
Oh,
27. Did he just get fatter? I think he did. I win because I'm more overweight than you. So, gamers, did you guess the game for this week? Oh. Well, if you guessed Knight Rider for the Nintendo Entertainment System, then you'd be right.
It was one of the early television-to-video games where you played the part of a pixelated David Hasselhoff as he rode around in his robotic car, Kit, taking on dastardly terrorists.
And the game itself was actually kind of rubbish, but we just like robot cars. Junglers, you know what you have to do.
all right.
Next week, something big on the show. It starts with a K and ends in a Ratos. God of War was a masterpiece on the PS2, but can this Ghost of Sparta go portable?
Lux will be bringing you that story on the skills shortage in the Australian games industry. Don't forget to get your entries into the Good Game Game project. More information is on our website, and while you're there, join our forums and leave your thoughts on life, the universe, and gaming. The whole Good Game crew will be on the forums after the show to chat.
Until next week, gamers, same time, same place. Bajo out.
Junglist out.
Whoa, where are you going?
Gotta go to the game edge. It awaits.
No, my world record attempt. I'm 23 and a half hours off it.
All right.